Let's look into what a random variable is in statistics. Random variables. It's not random. It's not also a variable. So what is a random variable? It is a function that associates a real number to each outcome in a probability experiment or a chance event. This is used to quantify outcomes to help us make better decisions, like in business, in engineering, in education, in the field of medicine, etc. And we shall get to know more about the application of random variables as we progress in our lesson. Now let's illustrate random variables. Suppose two coins are tossed. Let x be the random variable representing the number of heads that occur. Note that we use a capital letter to represent our random variable. So for this example, we'll let capital letter X be the random variable representing the number of heads that occur. Now let's list down the possible outcomes in tossing two coins using a tree diagram. For the first coin, we either get heads or tails. Now for the second coin, could also be heads or tails, and another heads or tails. Now we're ready to list down all the possible outcomes. The first outcome here is heads and heads. The second outcome is heads and tails. The third outcome is tails and heads. And finally, we have tails and tails. So there are 4 outcomes for this experiment, or in the sample space. The sample space is the list of all possible outcomes in an experiment. Now, next step here is for us to determine the values of our random variable x representing the number of heads that occur, or the real number that associates to each outcome in the probability experiment. So for the first outcome, we have heads and heads, so it's 2. Because there are 2 heads. Now, for the second outcome, we have heads and tails. It's 1. The third outcome is tails and heads is 1. And finally, for tails and tails is 0. So these are the values of our random variable x representing the number of heads that occur. So in summary, the possible values of the random variable x are 0, 1, and 2. And that's how we illustrate the random variables.